Hey YouTube, Matt here. Thanks for tuning in once again. In this video, I'd like to share my warm-up practice when creating art. Warm-up, I find, is critical before taking on any particular piece, whether it's a sketch, a study, something created from my imagination. Warm-up is critical in just loosening up not only the mind, but reestablishing that hand-eye coordination after you've taken a break from drawing, coming at it fresh the next day or several hours later. It just helps to get back into the zone. And it's definitely a zone that your mind enters when you're engaged in essentially transcribing what's in your imagination onto the page, or even what you're studying, what you're seeing. So this warm-up, these various warm-up techniques, I find just essential for getting you into that headspace. So let's start with the basic circle. Just drawing smoothly, nicely, lightly. That's essential practice, drawing lightly. A lot of people get too wrapped up in the pressure. They're applying too much pressure. I mean, I'm still guilty of that at times, but it's good practice to be aware, consciously aware of how you're applying the graphite to the page. I'll keep this video simple with these techniques, but there's a lot to discuss when it comes to selecting the gradient. This is an F-type pencil. F-type is one notch softer than H, and along the H spectrum, you're going to have hard graphite producing a very soft look on the page. It's not a soft graphite. It's a hard graphite producing a soft or lighter look. Lighter is the word. And then when you go towards the B spectrum, along the B spectrum, the graphite is soft, but it creates a very dark appearance on the page. So H is hard gradient, hard graphite, light image. B is soft gradient, dark image. And F is, it's basically right in the center, close to it. It's one notch lighter than HB, which everyone is used to. I find it great for establishing construction lines. They're easy to erase, easy to work over. That's why I stick to F. Now, you'll also notice that I'm not moving my wrist. I'm moving my shoulder. You can't see that. That's off camera, but I'm drawing with my shoulder, clockwise, counterclockwise. And you can see that the circle comes out quite smooth. Now, if I tried drawing a circle with my wrist, you see the circle is following the shape of the direction, actually, that my wrist is moving on its joint, and it's not circular. It's off. You can see that's me just casually, loosely drawing using my wrist versus using my shoulder. I have more control. You want to have as much control with the pencil as you're applying line work as possible. And of course, another great warm-up technique is drawing ellipses, nice smooth ellipses, because if you're trying to build a cylinder and draw a center line here, you're going to want to get those circles at that correct tilt. It's essentially what an ellipse is. It's a circle drawn and you're tilting it, because we're trying to draw, well, circles are 2D shapes. You've got circles, triangles, squares. These are the basic building blocks for three-dimensional shapes. And when you're drawing, you're trying to create the illusion of a three-dimensional object on a 2D surface. So in order to do that, you need to apply perspective. I'll get into that in another video. But I've essentially applied perspective here, building this very basic cylindrical object here, this cylinder, with two ellipses. Now, you wouldn't see the center line through it, but I like to draw the center line to help guide the construction of these shapes. You can draw a rectangle, two pairs of sides of varying lengths of the pairs. You can turn that into a 3D prism. Now, I can visualize this shape in my mind, so it's easy for me to do this. But what you don't see is the perspective, the horizon line. These angles are all, these edges are all converging towards a vanishing point, probably off page, because they go so far. It would be like, I'm jumping ahead here, getting some perspective. That's the thing too about warm-up. You want to keep it very simple, very basic. I'll make a separate video or videos on perspective. That's something essential when creating accurate, structurally sound representations of anything you're drawing on the page, on the 2D surface. So back to the warm-up techniques. Again, not using your wrist, but your shoulder to produce lines, straight lines of varying length. You can apply a little more pressure, a little less pressure. Just getting control. Having that confidence as you draw these lines. Nice, clean, sharp lines. And what I'm doing here is building up the illusion of a shadow, essentially. I like making shadows with lines. I'm not into the smudging technique. A lot of people use smudging when they're starting off, but in later videos I'll explain why these lines, and this is called the chiaroscuro technique, where you're hatching, you're building up a hatch that creates a shadow, and it gets darker the more you hatch, but the cleaner the hatches are, the nicer the shadow looks, and it's just a beautiful built up shadow without having to smudge or create. It's not messy. It's a nice clean look, and following the form and the angles of the 3D shapes you're creating this hatch on. Again, I'm trying to keep it simple here, not jumping ahead, but let's just keep practicing some techniques here. Keeping it nice and loose, drawing from the shoulder, maintaining control. I like drawing ellipses that expand out into circles. This is good practice. This is tricky, but very useful. You could do it vertically too. Try drawing a vertical ellipse. Coming in, that's a little bit tough. And building it out into a circle. You'll find that when you're just having these basic skills, the control over these techniques is so important when you're in the process of drawing anything, like vision a car. You're going to start off with blocks, get those angles down. I'll do a demonstration of a car in another video. There's an infinite number of things to draw, and all of it, everything you see around you is built out of, again, these basic shapes: circles, triangles, squares, and combinations of these together. Cylinders as well, of course, we're using the ellipse, but combinations of these shapes in their three-dimensional prism forms, everything is built out of them. I mean, just think of a book, for instance. You've got start off as a rectangle, and I mean, it's a box. It's essentially a box. Add some shadow here. Envision a light source. I'll get into this in another video, but you can see. I'll explain where the light source is coming from. Here you can see it's coming from, obviously. Here, this is the darkest here. It's a little bit lighter, so it would probably, light source is around here somewhere. And the light's coming in. A little bit of shadow here, most shadow here because it's opposite to the source of the light. So it's going to be darkest. And the light is just hitting the surface here. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this very brief introduction video on warm-up techniques and their essentiality in loosening up the shoulder, the hand, building that hand-eye coordination before you dive into a drawing, because you want the drawing to be successful. So warming up, it's kind of like warming up before you go to the gym, or when you're at the gym, warming up before you engage in the heavy movements or any movement, so your body's prepared to take on the challenge. And that's what it's like making a drawing. All right, friends, I will let you guys go here. Thanks for tuning in. I'm glad if you've stayed this long. I'm thankful for that. If you like this video and enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing. Definitely leave a like, and I welcome all comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on anything you've heard or seen today in this video, and I will catch all of you guys in another video. All right, friends, take care. Have a great one. Catch you soon.